Hello. All right. So what am I doing today? I think I'm fixing telemetry. All right, let's see. I need to get situated. So I think I'm looking at my schedule. What I got to do is I got to fix my telemetry systems that we have. Hello, Karakan. Yeah, that's the big one. I need to fix the telemetry stuff that's messed up. We want to get a basic user report going. So let's just make sure that everything is set up here. Adam just beat me in the non-con game. What? Oh yeah, and the other thing we might get to is some interesting things. A once-in-a-lifetime occasion, Adam wins. Yeah, I know. We were playing last night, and that was pretty funny. Alright, so I need to figure out what the hell I'm doing. I'm just waking up, pretty much. Alright, so let's see. Even when pot left, yeah. Yeah, well, I try. You know, I'm trying to be a contender. Alright, so the issue right now is I've got this Jenkins job. Jenkins is a server which runs tasks over time for you. And the issue is that it's breaking because of some telemetry stuff. So this is... So the issue is we're pulling all this data from S3, and we want to insert this data into a telemetry table so we can query it later and figure out, like, you know, what's the best attack strategy, you know, by the numbers. Let's figure it out, like, on this map, you know, if you... You're 20% more likely to score if you're, you know, using the up hit as opposed to something else. The problem is right now, basically, how this thing works is we've got basically like We got like all this data, and then we've got our ETL job, and then we got telemetry. And what happens basically is the ETL job needs to grab like all the data from the last day. It needs to pull it down, and then it needs to insert it after munging stuff into the telemetry database. The problem is it's like pulling down way too much, and because there's so much data, and it just runs out of memory, blows itself up. Kick is too low. Punch is too low. Kick is too forceful. Everything sucks. Yeah, I think some of the weirdness that has to do with some of the moves is actually that Bitey got resized, I think, a little bit. So the attack collision, like I should actually just pull that up. I think the attack collision is no longer actually centered on his character. So I'm going to pull that up and double check it because I think that might be the case. I can mark stuff off in our calendar. Man, I like getting back on an actual plan. What is this? Well, strange misses are also going to be kind of how the collision works. Like the collision right now doesn't do a sweep for your collision. So it's definitely possible for you to be going too fast and your frame rate has it so you actually go through the ball improper. You know, you go through the ball, but it's when you would have been in that place was kind of. I mean, I think you get what I mean. Like if you're a thing, if you're this, then you're this, and then you got the ball, and you move in one frame all the way across the ball's trajectory because you're going too fast while you're kicking, you're not actually going to hit the ball because it'll do like a check here, and it'll do a check here next frame, and you know that's not a collision. So it's probably some of that as well. And some of that kind of is complicated by the other issue is like, what if one frame you're facing this direction and the next frame you're facing this other direction? And if you do a sweep with, you know, the collision and you're like, okay, well, you collided, but did you mean to hit the ball really hard in this direction and then kind of turn around to slow down, or did you mean to hit the ball on this direction and send it up in the other way? So I've kind of just left it with it's locked to your frame rate, so if you time it right, you can have full control, and the game's not trying to assume anything. It also is easier to implement in code, so I wanted to leave it that way and see how big of a problem it is with players. Yeah, I'll just double check the collision geometry to start with before I get all the way into telemetry stuff. And once you get into telemetry stuff, it's just not going to stop. mostly get that by missing it on spawn. Oh, interesting. So it's the aerial hits then, probably. The other thing is, other people could be beating you with the timing of that. I know I'm real good at the timing. Sometimes I'll be literally right on top of the spawn point when it spawns already kicking. So that's one of the tricks I usually try to pull, is get that hit before the ball even spawns, lined up, ready to go. Alright, so that's our collision. I like how we have collision on our nameplate. Like there's actually a collision box there. It's not colliding with anything, but it is there. That was actually a bug. The ball could collide with the nameplate. It was actually really funny. You could like wing the nameplate around and hit the ball with it. Alright, so it's our movement and everything. I need, not our movement. What is our other trace tag? What is it? Overlap? Yeah, so that's the up hit. That's the forward. So the up hit is a little bit lower, and then the forward hit is right on there. That's our slide. It's hard to see this thing sometimes. Ah, okay, so maybe that's some of it right there. Like when we're moving fast, it's actually not checking. Our collision checks might be lagging behind by a frame of motion. See if I can get a better picture. Yeah, so it definitely looks like either the trace tag is improper or we are lagging behind by a frame, which could really be throwing people off. Because you can see how far the distance is between those two. Like when you're going at maximum speed there, the gap there might be a little bit too much. Alright, well, I will write that down, and we will probably get that into the next update then. So, I will look at the, let's see, we want to fix collision, lead character by velocity. Fix collision lagging behind. Character by 1 frame. Yeah, it basically means that also if you want to win a punch fight, go slow. You know, like, yeah, and the punch up, it used to be that the move was supposed to be kind of a... Yeah, if you're wondering what the collision with the down stomp looks like, that's what it looks like. Bam. Yeah, okay, so the other thing will be that the low kick is too low on ground. And we'll see if I can get to that thing. Cool. Well, that's good to take a look at that stuff. This is very useful to see. Yeah, that's... How do you think I know all the tricks? I turn on the editor and then get figuring stuff out. So if people were interested in the data that we collect on you while you're playing, there is quite a bit of it. Let me see. We've got... Let's see. We need a new folder here. Let's make a scratch folder for telemetry. There's already a scratch folder for telemetry. So basically how it works is we've got all this data up on S3 that we save out, and it saves into these zipped up JSON files with all this stuff in it. And then we can we need to ETL it into the database for it to be useful. Let me pull this up off screen, make sure there's no identifiable information in it. Yeah, there is some identifiable information in it, so I don't want to show that off. Well, this is all dedicated server stuff, so I can show this off because those are our servers themselves. But basically it looks like this, where you have these IDs for all this data. And then we have, like, this is main client, BS game, we have the IP address of the thing that's running, and we got the event, like these are where the ball is, you know, what time it is in the level and everything. And we got like where the ball is and how fast it's going, you know, X velocity, which map we're in, everything like that. So you can see we got like the sunny day stuff in here. Everything like that. So we're not like collecting your emails or anything. The IP is mainly for tracking purposes. So we know if some IP address is spamming a whole bunch of garbage, or something else, we can go ahead and filter it out. Yeah, I actually might be able to pull some of that out. I think we've got a few connection lost events. Alright, so for every client that we're going to read, we're going to get events for this timestamp. But what we want to do is we don't want to load in all the events. We want to like load in a certain amount of them at a time. Well, I think we were able to load everything in with small enough increments. What we want to do is we don't want to report them all at once because that's too much. So we want like a maximum. So why don't we just have a maximum insert number of like 5,000 events? And so what we'll do is like for int I equals 0, I is less than events. Yeah, so we want a collection WD reported event data. Now we should just count equals 0. So what we want to do is for every event now. And report these. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do this. So you're still getting errors when it's error 3? I don't even know what error 3 means. I can look it up though. So 0, 1, 2, 3? A package is missing, or package version, or invalid URL? Seems unlikely. Unable to listen on the network. That's probably what's going on. Or connection lost. It loses the connection to Twitch. Well, that'll be the connection to the backend platform. So the question would be, I have to go look at some of the disconnect flow stuff, but it may have been that your connection got dropped before then, and it didn't kick you out, and it just actually does a check when you get back to that menu for browsing game. So it's not necessarily that you're disconnecting from the server that's causing the drop for your connection. It may be that just you're always having connection drops, and that's the only time that the game actually goes, oh, hey, you need to log back in, like you're logged out. So it's probably that. That's what my gut would say. Anyway, I'm going to focus on the telemetry for right now. So, alright, so let's do size. I don't know if the dot size. Alright, so int count equals 0. Alright, so we want this array list of DB objects. Alright, so basically we want to add the event. Actually, we can just, we can still do a for loop here. Alright, so it's going to be if count plus plus is, it's bad practice to do some of this, but if count plus plus is greater than or equal to max insert number, we are going to want to insert all this stuff. Now inserting dbObjects.size, we're then going to make a new array down here and set count equals 0. Okay, so that should make it so we actually get all the events properly. So let's see, if we've got this report creator, the session report creator, we don't have any, where are we going to be pulling our data from? We're going to be pulling it from BS game prod, and we're going to grab the last 4 hours of the data and insert it into our local database. Alright, let's run it and see what happens. Alright, so we got 16,954 events. Let me just see if this has any information we want. So this will be select. Let's see, we're going to want env name event external type and level. Order by created descending. So we can do stuff like this. So we can see what's going on in prod at the moment, which it looks like a lot of server ticks for balls that aren't doing much, which is exactly what we would expect. Alright, so what we're going to do is select, let's see, count. event from user session events, order by created, order by is it group by event. Alright, so here we go. There were 7,000 ball ticks, 265 ball touches, 8,000 match ticks, 11 players joined, 5 players left, 108 players ticked, 56 player touches. No scores. "11 options changed." Alright, so it looks like that works. Yeah, no scores, exactly. So that's the kind of stuff that I need to actually go through. I need to go through and verify that the telemetry that we're getting is actual data that works or is accurate. Do we have a match ID? We have session ID. I need to view this data. Alright, so I need to write down the data that we actually have, and then I need to come up with a report kind of format that I'm going to want to use for this. Because what are some questions that we want to answer? I should probably start with that. Because I want to write a few telemetry reports based on this data that I can actually pull something out. I'm going to want I want to get games that have actual players in them. We're going to want to get the kind of the post games. This will be the last tick for the players to know what stats they have. So this will be attacks, touches, etc. I want to know which touches are, which moves are being used. Touch the ball the most. I want to know which team is scoring the most, and some other things that might be interesting. Like we can figure out which player has the highest number of scores, which player has the highest number of attacks, things like that. So stuff that we've got match ID. So string prop, match ID. We've got the string prop net mode. Allows us to filter out servers themselves. Attacks is Plottington. Most used match size. It would be nice also to be, we're going to make a player heat map for each map. So this would be, and then we want to make a ball heat map for each level, I should say. Alright, so what kind of tables are we going to want then? We're going to want all events from matches which have any user which joins. So in order to do this, go through all match data, find any user join, then grab all events for that ID. And what pieces of information are we going to want from that? Alright, so let's select star from data and telemetry stuff can be a heat map for attacks. Okay, that would actually not be a bad idea. Make an attack heat map for each level, and then make a touch heat map for each level. This will be, I'll be more specific, a player position, a ball position, as I'm trying to think about what events we actually need. I'm not really too interested in what the controls are being set to. Alright, looks like I can update our user report table, our daily calendar. Alright, cool. Alright, our user calendar is updated. Number of bots played against. Alright, so let's see. What do we got for our ball? Alright, so we want to grab the position. We have X pause, which isn't going to be helpful. We got Y pause, and then we got Z pause. We have X vel, Y vel, Z vel. We've got, and those are what, numbers? I'm going to need these columns in the database in order to search it. So that's kind of what I'm doing, is I'm coming up with a format for what the data needs to be structured as. So we need position and velocity. We're going to want, let's see, int. Hence, we're going to want the team. We've got isPlayer, which is a string. We have our physics state if we're in on the ground or in the air. That's probably a good one. So phys state. And then these are int props. So we have goals, own goals, assists. playtime, ball touches, ball slides, ball low hits, ball high hits, ball defend hits, ball pound air hits, ball pound hits. And we've got player touches, player slides, low hits, player high hits, player pound air hits, player pound hits. Anything else? Probably the there's a good one, ping. That's another question. What is our average ping? So we should be using the user ID for uniqueness on some of these. Yeah, we definitely fixed the issue that was causing massive problems. Alright, so we have error events. Yeah, okay, so we want to get the error table. So the error table is going to have where the event equals error. We're going to want to grab the string error type, string error details. Assists and scores. Alright, so score goal should be getting called. I guess we could have a goal map. Alright, so what is this entity properties thing? It's just going to have more X pause, Y pause. Alright, so we're going to want to look for the heat map stuff. We're going to look for match tick event. Match tick, we need the event player tick. And this is per player. And then we want the event ball tick. Yeah, basically I didn't want to count own goals if you're like trying to save it and you accidentally hit it in. It's like it's still going in, right? Like for that to happen where you don't get credit for the own goal when you should have because you hit it in, it has to be a very short window between somebody else touching it and you touching it. So it's kind of tough to score it. It's not like we got a ref there, you know, who's like looking and like making decisions, right? So we got to deal with simple rules, and that's just kind of what's going to happen. Alright, so we should probably focus on one thing at a time. So we want to be able to make a table that we can then make our heat maps off of, is what it sounds like. And it looks like that's going to be our level data. So we want to go through and for everywhere, is it just match tick? Game tick event. Yeah, it looks like it's match tick, ball tick, and player tick. If we go to this, we are getting match ticks, we are getting ball ticks, and we are getting player ticks. So we will get stuff for that. Well, that'll give us positions. Alright, so we need to get our, why don't we just start with that? So we want our level position data. So this is going to be, this table contains position data for entities at times by match. So we want position and velocity. What is a tick here? Right now, every 15 seconds, whoever is the host will report everybody's position and velocity to telemetry. So every tick. So every 15 seconds is one tick for the system. Alright, so if we have the level position data table, that'll give us where everybody is at every given time. Do we actually have individual hit statistics? Like, do we actually fire an event for every time we actually hit somebody, or do we not do that? We have a ball touch and a player touch event. Okay, so we're going to want a touch position table. So alright, so the events for this are going to be match tick, player tick, and ball tick. And we want to look at, so the rule for this should be grab all for sessions that have at least one player tick. Yeah, 15 seconds is huge, but it's not like we're trying to replay a game. This is like big data, right? So even 15 seconds is actually pretty fast for a telemetry tick system. Because, you know, this would be like if we had 1,000 games going all at once. Every 15 seconds we'd have, for every player, we'd have another tick event. So that'd be 1,000 times 6 divided by 15 events per second. So that's a lot of data. That's enough data to figure out where everybody is and how everybody moves around. So ball tick. Is there any other positional data that we want to grab? So I mean, like the player touch and ball touch. Yeah, okay, so it looks like ball touch has ball position, and the player touch has player position. I mean, we also have the wall hit. That has the player position. Yeah, the resolution is actually irrelevant at that point. And it looks like score goal has player position as well, so we can grab those. Assist goal has the player position. Alright, so if we were going to start describing these data structures, what are we going to want here? We're going to want, we have to actually build the table for this thing, so it can be a little bit of a, this is where you have like a data scientist on your team who spends all of his time or her time dealing with numbers. Yeah, let's actually make a game telemetry objects thing. This will be game telemetry. This will just be the telemetry namespace. Why not? Alright, so we're going to want things. So we do want created. We really don't care about when it was reported. The type. Does type fucking matter? Type is like main client BS game, so type doesn't matter. Neither does version or environment, really. Do we want user ID or session ID? Do we want user ID? Yeah, I guess we do want user ID. So name, we want user ID. Environment is not helpful. Machine ID is not helpful. Session ID might be helpful. We do need the level. That's going to be something that we want to specify. We're going to want the match ID for sure. So this is going to be the level position data. So level position data. So we have the match ID. Name. What the hell is the name field? Alright, that's like main client. I don't think we need that. We do need the event. We need the event ID too, don't we? Yeah, so event ID. Alright, so the next things that we'll need, so you have level, user ID. Why don't we just capitalize all these because we can. Alright, so what are the other properties that we can pull off here? Alright, so we got user ID. Is player is a good one. Is ball would be a good one. Fizz state would be a good one. I guess is player would be something, is bot would be another. Alright, so we want team as well. That'll be something we want. And then I guess we want the X pause, Y pause. Actually, I guess we just want the Y and the Z. So I'm actually just going to put X pause and Y pause, and it'll actually be the Y and the Z pause. And xvel and yvel. Alright, so those are going to be floats. This will be level tick data. Why don't we just do it like that? We'll want our ping. I think this would actually make a pretty good table right here. What we'd be able to do is we'd be able to get the positions, the velocities. We need to know the match time, like how long it is in the match, maybe. Do we have that? Alright, game name.